Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're hailing from. Welcome back to another Data Services Office Hour. I am Chris Short, host and showrunner of Red Hat Live Streaming. I am here with the one and only Michelle DiPalma. Michelle, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I am good. We before the show, we were talking a lot about disaster recovery scenarios, but like human disaster recovery scenarios. So it's interesting to be on the phone or on the horn with you right now to talk about, data and importance.
If I had known, we could have switched to like a disaster recovery.
No, I'm done with disaster recovery for this week. You
don't know, like take questions down.
I've had my power plug. I'm good.
Yeah, so there's nothing disastrous about this, except
it is a live demo, so it could go totally sideways.
It is a live demo, yes. And it is OpenShift 4.8, which is GA.
Right.
But it's
GA yesterday.
GA yesterday, which is good.
Good.
But it's ODF 4.8, which is not GA. So we're living on the edge.
We are living on the edge here.
You've been doing for a few days.
Yeah, pretty much. It felt like I was on the edge of existence for a little bit, but yeah.
So hopefully this will, I've done it a few times, but it's live, things happen. So, yeah. But at least we're not starting out with the intention of breaking anything. I'd actually like everything to work properly, which but that's okay.
Oh, so yeah, I know how that goes.
Sometimes I come in with that, like, let's break something. And now I'm like, no, let's have everything not break. So let's lighten the burden for you because you've had enough happen to you over the last few days. So. Okay, so I'm going to present my screen and we're going to talk. I'm going to do the whole desktop here.
Yeah, that's probably so just to let you know, people have been having some sharing issues with Zoom lately. Like the tab sharing has gotten weird, I think, or something's changed there.
Oh, all right. So let me know. Do you see this?
Yes.
Does this look good? Okay. Font size is good. Everything. Okay. So today, what was our subject today? I mean, I know what it is.
Oh my gosh.
We titled it.
Using Vault with ODF for better security.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Just checking in. All right. So, sorry.
You're fine.
So, we have gone through this page should look familiar, right? We've done this is our OCS training page, done by people on my team, the practitioners who kind of write this stuff. So I actually have only contributed a little bit. This is mostly JC and Chris Blum and Annette and all kinds of wonderful people contributing this. So normally when I talk to you, we're up here in general deploy and use and we're going through some new feature. So we did a little bit of encryption last show. Was it maybe the show before? I don't know, but we were down here in external KMS encryption. Did we do any of it? Anyway, it's been a while.
No, we did do it. We definitely did do it. I was just trying to remember when it was because it seems like a month or. It seems like,
and that you're right. Yeah, it was like 6 weeks ago. Okay, so we did a couple of these sections here. I think we did all the way up to 6. So I've added this new section.
Ooh.
I know. That's why it's such
granular
a mouthful.
persistent volume at rest encryption. That's what I'm talking about.
It just goes on and on. Okay, so so I just want to let everyone know it's here. However, I have a new version of this that I haven't finished the PR yet. This is the I think a better section on the same thing. So granular persistent volume at rest encryption without cluster-wide encryption, Kubernetes auth methods, service accounts. That's what we're doing today. But nothing should break. So just to level set with. So are you a Vault guy? How's your Vault? My Vault was like minimal when I went into this.
I mean, I've used it in the past, but it's not like I have like a Vault constantly running someplace, right? Like,
right. And I've used Vault as a user, not I've never been on a Vault admin team or anything like that. So
yeah,
this is
like
a
I
learning
was
curve
on
for me.
the admin team, like
Okay.
trying to run the infrastructure and everything. So I
Okay.
mean,
So I'm going to
it's a great
assume
product. I like it a lot.
it's the first one we're going with. I guess due to popularity. I know we're doing more. I don't know the roadmap for that, but I know it's planned. So here's how this kind of flows, right? So we're under data security. We have data at rest, and we have like at emotion. We're not dealing with emotions. We're strictly talking about at rest. And once you come in ODF, once you're in at rest, it's like you can do the whole storage cluster, the whole thing, cluster wide, or you can do storage class, and then that would be PV. That's because then you can create a PVC that uses a particular storage class. That storage class is encrypted. So we're on the storage class side, right? We're not doing the whole cluster. We're on the storage class side. So with both of them, though, and we're only going to talk about storage class today, you could have a Vault instance running in the cluster, but chances are you don't. Chances are it's external to the cluster. So that when I say external here, an external KMS, that's what I mean. It's not a service in your OpenShift cluster. It's running somewhere else. Lots of reasons for that, like it's existing and that's where your security team wanted it to run. They're doing something with HA that they couldn't, I don't know. So
a lot of people put their Vault server on its own, like VLAN and everything, right? Like it's probably off to the side in this highly protected environment with very granular controls.
Like that.
Exactly. It's glowing. It's you go to that VPC in AWS and all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's magical. What's going on around me?
It's a new universe. It's your Vault universe run by some team you've never heard of and don't know how to contact. So with that point, so there are a couple of things about this. Well, but so a couple of things about this demo. So when we come in, there is obviously in this situation, I have my own Vault dev instance because my 30-day trial ran out. So there's some things I can't do, but I have the root token. So that is probably not typical. Right?
That is rare.
That is rare. And because I'm running the dev version of Vault, I don't have namespaces, which I think is also rare. If you're in a large enterprise solution with another team running it, they're going to do namespaces. So we can talk about it and I can show you it, but I can't actually do it, that part. So we'll just do it kind of like I'm all powerful because I'm feeling that way this morning.
Yeah. So you're omnipotent. That's fine.
I am, right? So here, so the other thing, so we've come down through, we're not doing the whole cluster, we're doing the storage class, and we know we're external, but the key point in this one is that we're going to use a service account token. So, and use the Kubernetes auth method. So if you've done anything with Kubernetes auth method, so here's our cluster, here's Vault. In our namespace, there are going to be some service accounts. Every service account has a token. This guy is going to wake up and say to Vault, I want to access blah, blah, blah. Vault's going to say, who are you? What service account? What token? What namespace? And then come back to the cluster and say, is this service account allowed or not? And we have to set up that conversation properly. And that's just authentication. That's not about writing your keys out or anything yet. So it's kind of like a two-part thing. And I wanted in that case, we'll set it up and make it work, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it doesn't work, because inevitably I forget something and you'll see permission denied. But it's good to see it. So let me.
You know I like stuff breaking.
I know you do. I know, but all right. Where am I? Where did I go? Oh! I know what it is. See, problems happened already. It's not that. It's I want to kick off. It's not enterprise anymore because when you know, like this morning at like 2:00 in the morning. Okay.
I think it's just
there we go.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah. So, but I want to run the dev instance in particular. So this is now running on. I have a jump host. Here you see my root token. I don't have to unseal it. Like if you have a real Vault instance, you have to do all this like stuff with it. I don't have to do any of that because I'm running dev. And on this side, just to show you that this is a real thing, we have that's this in the document. I show you what information you have to gather. Among that information is you have to know your Vault address. So that's and important. We're gonna so we're gonna do just check out the status of stuff. So here, you Vault people out there, it's initialized and it's not sealed anymore. So that is unusual.
Yeah.
Also, in a real setup, you wouldn't have to do this at all. It would already be set up, and they would just tell you this is your Vault address. So here we are. I want to go back to the document for just a second. So the Vault instance is external to the OpenShift cluster. We're going to use a service account token. You can use a namespace, but as I said, I can't really demonstrate that. I'll just talk about it. And I'll show you some other stuff about some optional things we have. You can have a really complicated vault setup. And I'm interested in, from anyone listening, what is a typical vault setup? If we have anybody out there who's like more on the security side, I worked with a client where the authentication to vault happened on one endpoint, but then the namespace was something else, which I understood, because as a team, you would want to be able to control authentication in one place, maybe.
Right.
But then you could, right? Like I'm like, okay, so I'm learning a little more about Vault. So I'm interested in that. Like, what is a typical setup for Vault? And I believe that we are already pretty much set up to handle that from the ODF side, but I want to see it in action so that we can show people like, oh, you need to set the blah, blah, blah in order to make this kind of scenario in Vault happen. Does that make sense? So anyway, you'll see more. So let's scroll down. So here we have, please gather the following information. I've got my Vault address. You saw it over here. This is it. And I know my cluster endpoints. You can get it from OC config view if you need to, but you generally know your cluster endpoint. And then number 3 is important. If you don't have the root token for Vault, you need someone who does, because we're going to have to set up some policies. So and we're not doing this, but I can talk about that if the Vault CA certificate.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you for not setting up a CA certificate during a demo.
Exactly.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of work. So, okay. So the first part of, remember we talked about this conversation, the conversation around authentication. So we're going to set up our side first, which means I'm going to need a service account. It's set up here. This is the, I'm just going to call it token review because it's too long. I'm going to have a cluster role, and then we're going to bind some other service accounts to it. So down below, here's your rook, here's your provisioner stuff. So you can cut and paste it. So let's apply it. I've got it in here already. Do I do? I do. Right. So here it is here. And just before let me do this before I forget, because I often do.
Good point.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, see all ready?
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll do.
That's me. Okay. All right.
Oh. Okay. There we go.
Hang on a second. It's number 1. I labeled them for a reason.
There. Oh. Smart.
So these get created.
Nice.
Right? Like I was trying to make it easy for you, right? So that was all this.
Well,
that's all. That was all in there. And then the next piece is to we're actually setting up the Vault side, but we're going to, again, you would not normally do this because you would have a team that does this. You would not have the root token, et cetera, et cetera. But
or if you're a small place, maybe you are doing this.
Yeah, like I think it depends on size. And so maybe you are a cluster admin, OpenShift cluster admin, and you're the Vault person as well. So anyway, in order to run this job that I have below, I have to set up some pod security policy stuff and what have you. And that's all this is. This runs once, and then it's done. So that's what is in 2. And this is all about setting up the job that I'm going to run right after. So you do it once, you don't have to worry about it again. Okay, so
cool.
Right. So what matters here are.
But you did get You did get that my favorite deprecation warning, and 125 PSPs are going away. Remember that, folks. This was announced a little while ago. So PSPs will only work.
But we're not going to change until they really, really make us. So
I know, and 125 isn't going to be out until middle of next year, I think. So you've got some time, right?
But then I'll forget that they've even told me. Okay, so at this point, our side should be set up, but the Vault side is not. So if you have a Vault team, what you would do is you'd bring them right here into the documentation and say, okay, wait, I got to scroll down. Look at this job, and this is going to set up policies. Can you do this for me? That's all. So we're going to do it here, but exactly. So it's provided. I thought about maybe pulling this out of YAML and just have it as a cut and paste this in an email to your Vault admin team, maybe. But let's just make it easy. So
attach a text file or something. Anything works.
Exactly. Yeah. So in here, once you see these little numbers here, because it has not been rendered by Mtora yet, but it will be as soon as I submit it. There are a couple of things you have to change. So
place the Vault token. That makes sense.
So what happens is that hang on a second. Here we go. So up here, actually, so the Vault address, you would put in your Vault address. The sample root token. Actually, I'm going to show you the one I have because mine is set up properly. And notice I have another one there for namespaces. We'll go over that afterwards. Okay, so let's go to the bottom. Okay, so I happen to know that my sample root token is root token ID, and you can see it here because I made it that way.
Yep.
And then I've got my vault address. I didn't change anything else. The only other, it's like 3 things literally change. And then it's your endpoint right there.
Endpoints matter.
That's it.
Yeah.
Endpoints matter. So what this is going to do is it's going to run this job with this init script. It actually uses the Vault image to run it. And it's going to run, hopefully, these policies up here. This is the Vault piece. So all you Vault people, speak up if anything looks amiss. We log in, we enable the Kubernetes authentication method on the path, and then we do the policies below. So if you actually look, you can see here, it's going to take in the service account token path and use that token. That is the token, that's that RBD, blah, 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 token review service account. This job runs as that service account that we created. It doesn't run as, this job does not run as the Rook plugin or anything deeper inside of the ODF service accounts stuff. So we're setting ourselves, because the idea is that you have this SA account, right? You have this service account that you're going to, thank you, that you're going to masquerade as. So if I come in as the Rook plugin, it's basically saying, am I allowed to authenticate? I'm bound to this role. So anyway, this gets all set up here. You can go through it. It's pretty nice. Also of note to Vault people out there, the dev Vault instance is already KV version 2. So
good to know.
Apparently that matters.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
No, I mean V1 versus V2.
Like it's like your new version, so it already is there. So if you have a look at this, some people need to change this because, for instance, the cluster identifier I believe we have is like CSI Kubernetes or something like that, and it actually has to be different. So your Vault team would know that. They would say, no, you can't do this here. You have to do this over there. Also, I just wanted to show you, I'm not going to run it, but I wanted, if for Vault namespaces, which I really think everyone probably uses, it would look like this. So when you go down, when you go down to these Vault commands, everything's got, some namespace attached to it.
Namespace. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Right. So one thing. Not on the namespace. So someone can correct me if I'm wrong. Can you hear me?
You froze for a second there. Just
Am I back?
Re-say the last sentence.
So this Vault enabled piece can happen. It depends on how your Vault is set up. So if you have been given a namespace and it's totally yours, then it makes sense to enable Kubernetes authentication method in your namespace. But I did work with someone who didn't have that option. Authentication happened in another area, even though they had a namespace and they were writing keys to that namespace. So does that make sense?
Separation of responsibilities. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So I understood it from the Vault team's point of view. They were like, we want to corral all of you to authenticate here. So we have this point of control here about who can even talk to us. But once you've been authenticated, you need to go right over there. So so this is where I had to actually read the documentation. Take a tutorial.
Yay, distributed systems.
I was like, how does this work exactly? So just know that is available to people. I don't go through all of the different ones, but you can do it, and I've done it. You can do
a lot of different things with in Vault and making that kind of that glowing VPC we were talking about earlier.
So I am interested in what is common. Like if you're a large institution, enterprise with very particular security controls, what is the common setup for Vault? What about how large does it get? That's all. I would like to do the most common setup.
Those are good questions, right? Because where do you run your Vault? Do you run it on cluster? Do you run it on another cluster?
Do you run another cluster?
Some server in your private cloud or whatever, right? There's a lot of different ways to run Vault. There's open source Vault, there's enterprise Vault, there's all these different options too. Yeah. And not even thinking about that. There's tons of ways you can run Vault in your environment. So we try, to say, hey, this is how we would do it, but that doesn't often meet everybody's needs, right? Everybody has their own requirements when it comes to security. And a lot of that is driven by regulations. So,
Exactly. So I'm like, if you're in this industry, what kind of and also what about Vault HA? I would like to, do I need to know anything from the ODF? I just don't know. So I'm definitely.
I needed some HA for everything over the weekend.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay, so let's run this. Let's see. Okay. All right. So
cool.
These see the Vault. I'm gonna just sorry, I had to make my
Oh, I know. I'm
font really
sorry.
big,
You
so.
can. There
Okay,
you go.
so hopefully there. So we've completed. So
Nice.
let's see what the job did. And also we can actually to some extent see it here. Okay.
Oh,
ta-da.
there you go.
Somebody was happy. Otherwise you'd see errors. Okay. So yeah, but normally, so someone doing this probably wouldn't have access to the logs from Vault. It's actually really nice
No,
if you do, but
that's
you
pretty
probably
rare.
don't.
And
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, but it's good to show off that.
Okay, so I
the
just
whole pipeline.
Okay, so I just looked at the logs for the pod that ran the job. So it's showing you the output of the script that ran and da 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 da. You're now authenticated.
Here's
You don't
your
have to log in
key.
again. I'm looking for failures. Here's my keys. Nothing failed. Everything looks
Yay! Exclamation
good.
points.
Okay. Yes. So at least now the auth part should be set up, right?
Yeah.
Should. Right. So we're okay. Should. All right, and let's scroll in here, and here are commands for how to look at what you need. Create a storage class. Haha. Okay, here comes the fun part.
Yes.
Let's do. We've done this before.
It looks like your video.
I can do the KMS detail first.
There we go. Never mind.
Again, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can still hear you. It's
should I make faces so you see me? I'm like, ah. Okay. Hang on. So my video is a little weird. Let's talk about this config map first, because it's kind of important actually. All right. So now that we believe authentication is set up properly, we're moving down into how keys are actually going to get stored, right? And where we need to go. So ODF needs to know this information. It needs to know where's your vault, what's my path to log in, what's my role. Like, so there's a config map called, where is it? It's at the bottom. Yeah, CSI KMS connection details, which contains exactly that. So it's actually in the OCS training doc earlier, and it looks a little different. They've changed the format. But basically, this is everything you need to set up this connection. So I'm going to take out, I was messing around with this yesterday. I'm going to take out the namespace. And I'm going to take out the rest because I don't need it. We're not going to do it today. So vaults. Oh, I see what I did. Hang on a second. Let's keep it simple. We can break it after. Okay. So this is it. This is all I should need to connect. And what I wanted to point out here is this. So I'm going to create a storage class. The storage class is going to have an entry called encryption KMS ID. This is where this is all in the document, but this to show you that ID will map to something in this config map. It's going to map to, I'm going to put in vault test. You'll see that in a second. In turn, vault test has a KMS type. And this is, you can go look at the code to see what this maps to. There's actually a vault.go file. It goes in, it does all the things it should. So you have two mappings to kind of pass through, but this is where that information is contained. So I could have multiple instances, multiple vault instances I want to connect to. I just cut and paste this, change the information, and I'm off and running. But each one would need a new name so that I can look it up here. This will become more clear in a second. You got the look. You're like, what is she talking about?
No. I was pausing to ask. Can you share with me? Just drop it in Zoom chat here. The link to the repo.
Yes.
And I'm sorry if you shared that with me beforehand.
No.
It is what it is.
You have disappeared. Where are you guys? Okay, there we go. Hang on, I got to bring it back. Chat. I'll give it to you here. Ta-da! There. Did you get that?
Copy. Yes, I will grab that and share with the audience because they always like to follow along.
So all of this it does get a little hairy. Like it's a little like, okay, we're down in the weeds. Like it's very here. Let me put it up. But once I have it going, it'll make more sense. Oh, sorry. Hang on a second. See, I need to do my own. I messed it up. Hang on a second. Did I miss just kind? Let me look at my own.
GVK is always gonna get you. Group version kind.
Yeah, here we are. Let's do this instead. Let's do CM KMS. I just think it's second. Let's just wait. All right. Okay. I just want to get rid of these. My little documentation notes. Does everything else look good? Want to try it?
You need the vault address.
Thank you. That would not have been fun. Okay.
No, it would have been an easy find though.
Okay. Let's
There you
do this. Did I go over far enough? I can't see. Hang on. You know when like hang on a second. There we go.
Copy.
Sorry, hold on. Okay, 0, comma, and that's not a comma, that's a comma. That's it. Oh, and I'm not going to verify. Let me turn off this true business here.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Set up CA.
Yeah. Okay, so. Oh, sorry. No, that's not what I want. I changed it, didn't I?
You changed it. Yeah.
I changed it because I want to go back.
KMS. There you go.
Are we happy? Ta-da. Okay, so let's just I just want to look at it, make sure it's okay. Hang on.
Details.
Yes. Okay, we like it. All right. Okay, so this is where the information about connecting to our Vault instance is contained. We look it up by referring to whatever the key is here. So let's see what I have in number 5. New storage class. I'm calling it external Vault SC.
Nice.
And this is what I want to. Is it encrypted? Yes. Here's my lookup. Vault
nice.
test. So KMS ID is a lookup into CSI KMS connection details. That entry should have everything I need to connect to my external Vault instance.
Nice.
Let's see if I actually did it right. We'll go back into that in a second. Do you want what? You had a question? Let's see it again.
Well, I was just looking at the various values there. The parameters, especially, right? Like
we can change them for something.
Like,
yeah. So
there's a lot of options here. You can kind of stub your toe on or configure to your delights. Either way you want to rephrase to it. Yeah.
There's some yummies in there. So for instance, if you want to verify your Vault CA certificate, you actually do have to change some things in here. You have to go in and you can't use the different secrets. You create a new secret, and that secret has a couple of entries. Like it starts to get a little. We can do it. Yeah, no, you get some layers. I was like, this just works fine. Typically, you wouldn't do that. So maybe you would, but I have done it with a client. So that was kind of in the weeds. Fine.
That's okay. No, we like weeds. Yeah.
That's what we like weeds. That's what we do. Okay, that should be created just fine. Okay, so now let's switch to. I like to switch to the console. Hang on, I have to. Do you know how to make that there? It goes away by itself, but sometimes I want to push it out of the way. So
yeah, you can actually grab the toolbar thing and move it off screen or whatever. Yeah.
Okay. Did I offer proof of what I'm running here? That I was on ODF. Bleeding edge right here. It's got things going on. We're not going to deal with the problems. Yeah, like these, we're not dealing with that. Sorry, but here it is, 4.8.2.
Nice.
Okay. And then on this side. Here we are, 4.8.
Container storage.
So it's there. Yep.
Now remember, 4.8 for ODF is not out yet. So not out yet. Flash that future thing again, real quick.
Future thing. Okay, we've got our new storage class here, right? That we just created. That's got our details. Just sorry, I'm sure this font is too small. Here, this is what matters. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, so KMS ID is.
If you can't see it, folks, let me know. We'll increase the font size.
Right. And this Vault test, we can go up into the config map, have a look in our CSI KMS connection details, and there it is, Vault test.
Nice.
All right. So cool. if I didn't forget anything, we know how, and I can be in any namespace when I do this. So let's just do it here because it's easy. So I select this new SC, this new storage class.
Cool.
Let's call it external SC. Just do whatever. See what I didn't forget anything because it's bound. So now we will break some stuff. So
all right.
Yeah. So you can look at the events if you want. So this is what it looks like when it works.
Like even with explaining it, this only took you 30 minutes, right? Like
it's really not. Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of back and forth if you have a security team that's managing your Vault instance, but in general,
absolutely. Yeah.
Once you have the process down, you can kind of, do some automation around this maybe, right? Like if you're using something like ServiceNow, just put in a ticket, I need a new key, automate that process somehow, maybe with Ansible, a little,
And
my mind is just wandering off. Sorry.
Yeah. So what's also interesting is that I believe with this particular customer, the plan was to have for every namespace in OpenShift, they were going to have a Vault namespace. So this opportunity, so you could, I thought, oh, well, that's actually really organized. So, and then they were the ones who had authentication happening at a different endpoint than where the namespaces were. And I was like, that's actually really organized. I get where they're going with that. So you can do your own application tokens, you can store stuff in it, and you can encrypt your own PDs if you create a storage class that does that for you. So that was kind of nice. Yeah. And they wanted all of that automated. So, so this is what it looks like working. If we were deeper into Vault, we could see keys being created and all that kind of stuff. And the document actually goes through all of that in other ways. So I didn't want to do that here necessarily, but I just wanted to show you this is what it looks like working. So now let's break it.
My favorite part of the
show. All right, let's see what we could. Well, so I want to show you some errors. That's really kind of how I feel. I felt like, do I have anything that I can edit? No, not you. Do I need? No. Okay. So the first thing that goes wrong is this. So let's look at our. Here we go. This was a cluster role binding. If this isn't set up properly, you will see a permission denied error. So let's have a look. I need to edit right. I forget what there we go. Okay, so if I go to the bottom here and let's just say I remove something.
Oh.
Right.
Oh.
So then, well, so let's create a new PVC, right? Because I'm torturing us today. We create a new PVC. I should see, I'm going to be upset if it works. It shouldn't work.
It shouldn't, no.
Bad.
There you go. Call it what it is.
Yeah. Okay, so as you saw how quickly it bound. So nothing should be, this should be fast. So here you see permission denied. Anytime you see any sort of, yes, and there you go. You can see it right here. It's as it retries, you see, so it's telling you OpenShift Rook provisioner cannot create resource because it's not bound properly.
This is the point in time where you should expect your phone to ring. Because someone's going to see this and be like, I wonder where this is coming from.
I wanted to show this because also when you're dealing with another team and everybody's busy, maybe you're doing something email, and that's life, right? I get it, but you should. But this is so you can say no. It's not. The Vault side can go. It's you. It's not us. See, look, we're asking and we're getting a permission. We're getting that you're not allowed to be here. So that's something to see. And that's the authentication conversation. There's other stuff with the CA and all that other that can go wrong, but that's just making sure the authentication piece is okay. Right. So we can add it back. Yeah, it was this, right? This is what I'm gonna.
Yeah, you just took out the list, right?
Okay. Yeah. So, okay. Oh, there we go. All right. Let's make it. Oops. Format.
All the spaces.
Okay. All right. So now, do we have to create a new one? That I don't remember. I thought it may have backed off at this point. But if I go and do a new one, yeah. But I expect it's just. I suppose it backs off for a little bit, and then once, let's see, we'll leave it there. See if it comes back afterwards. Right, it's not trying. Let's see.
Oh, it's not trying. Maybe there it is.
Yeah,
it did something. You just got an event.
That was me. Okay. That was me. Yeah. See, now it's bound. It tries and tries, and then it backs off a little bit, and then it tries again. So it's just So there we are. So our bad PVC is now fixed. But permission denied is generally the cluster role bindings on the OpenShift side. Let me think. What else was in here? There's lots of good stuff. We can talk about I create the PVC here. There's some troubleshooting stuff you can do, but if you have access to the logs of Vault, it's much easier, right? Like I included this just so people can, You
are kind of dependent upon, an administrator of that Vault server or system at that point, right?
And aren't you busy enough? aren't you busy enough with your own OpenShift stuff? You don't need to run Vault.
No,
I think
you
it's like
should
that. So,
have encryption at rest, though, please.
no,
I don't want my
yeah,
ones and
no,
zeros out in the breeze. That's all I know.
Oh, and here is I can't do namespaces, but I wanted to just show you what if we were dealing with namespaces. All that would change here is I would have to add another entry in that config map that has a same connection details, but then it has a vault namespace as well. So for instance, here it is. So again, your storage class is using encryption KMS ID to look into the config map, CSI KMS connection details to get information about how it's supposed to connect. So you can run many of them. You can have a nice mix and match kind of thing. And here, if we look at this, I moved the other one, but you could have another one. There would be, it's like, I think it's actually just vault namespace here and works exactly as you think it would, right? And you could put, you know, my namespace, my vault namespace, blah, 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 blah. So that works. I've tested it. It just, you have to worry about it getting more complicated where you authenticate. Do you want me to talk? So any questions? Does anyone want me to go over?
No questions.
Anything?
Audience
Okay.
is kind of quiet. That's fine.
Okay. Maybe they don't have power.
Maybe they're like, "Ooh, you're doing this all wrong." Who knows?
They're like, who set up Vault like that? What is wrong with these people?
And that's entirely possible because this is a demo, right? Like,
exactly. Okay, so let's get a little more real world. If you had to verify your Vault CA, you need to do a few things. First off, you have to have it, and you have to have a PEM file, and you have to, we're going to put it in a secret, but it's a special secret. And it's going to be a special secret sauce. This is where it gets complicated. Okay, so if you have a look at, where did I put it? Oh yeah, you actually mentioned it. When we were looking at the storage class, under normal circumstances, you leave all of these secret names alone, and you just don't bother with them. In our case, when we're going to have to verify the CA, we need to keep it somewhere. We actually have to create a secret, and we have to name it here, and it's going to have a few things in it. So it looks like this. All right, so 3 important entries in our secret that we're going to name in our storage class. First one is this user ID and this user key. I'll explain how you get that in a second. That actually allows you to talk to the subcluster. And then there's this, the OCS KMS CA secret. This is your base 64 encoded CA.
Yeah.
You don't have a choice about this. This is how it has to be. That's the name of it. That's how it goes. If you need, every time I create a cluster, obviously the keys change for this. So there's, what is it? Is it no? It's, is that it? Yeah, you can get them like so. I believe I put that in the documentation. It will be, if it's not, but I think it's there already. So here's the user ID and key that I'm going to use in this secret. Below it, I'm going to put that entry for OCS. Let's scroll up a little bit. OCS KMS CA secret. And here's my encoded CA. And then I add it to the storage class by saying, I just say vault CA verify true. Does that make sense? It's tricky.
Yeah.
I don't, it's actually something. So it's cryptid. Sorry, my mistake. See, even I said this wrong. What I will put that secret name here because I've created a new secret with that information with those 3 items. And then in my KMS ID, I'm going to name a KMS ID that in it has vault CA verify true. They're trying to keep the configuration around the information around connecting to your external vault is completely contained in the KMS ID. It's not intermingled with the storage class itself. They want to keep it in that config map, CSI KMS connection details. So
totally
you
makes sense
just
to
name
me.
it, you put it over there. So I could have, where is it here? I can have more than one. I haven't done that, but I'm sure you can. And then here, you could add another one below this. And underneath, see how I say false, I say true. And then I think you can add the name for it as well to be specific, what secret you're looking at, and it all kind of flows from there. But that's like a whole nother layer of getting in the weeds, just so you know.
So Chris,
just for CA verification. Oh, which? Yeah. Oh, I know this, Chris.
You know this, Chris. First, he says you're doing a great job. I enjoy this. That's why I'm being quiet.
Oh, here it comes.
But did you talk about why we need this and why this is better than doing it another way?
Here's another way.
Any other
No,
way.
well,
I mean,
any other way. Well,
yeah.
so I actually like the storage class level encryption PV method. First off, I understand, and I hope anyone listening understands why we want to encrypt sometimes, right? I think it's actually, I personally, I like the flexibility of it. Here are a bunch of storage classes. Here's where, here's how it encrypts and where it connects to. I think it gives you like a lot of flexibility. So for instance, if you're doing some secretive stuff, or if you have a particular namespace in the project where they need to encrypt things, it's available to you. You don't have to do it for the whole cluster. And I also like that you can do it after the fact, right? So when you go to encrypt your whole cluster, I believe that's only at decision when you go to install. When you create the storage cluster, that is where you make that decision if you're going cluster wide or not. So if you do it at the storage class level, you're okay. You can say, well, no one's encrypting yet, but we'll get there. Like you can do it later. So I like options. I like all that flexibility. So in addition, I like using an external vault because of it's more flexibility, right? Like it's even, you can have the holy grail of setups that we talked about before. You can have HA. And I like how you're not really managing tokens. You're not really managing your auth tokens. You're kind of letting OpenShift manage them, right? Vault is just saying to OpenShift, is this service account allowed or not? So you don't want to deal with expirations. You don't want to deal with recycling them. Like you just don't.
Right.
So
yeah, that's a good point.
This is a better
right? Like
way.
doing this manually, right? Like, no,
that drive people crazy. So
like
why
you
do it
would
manually?
need somebody like an FTE to just manage certs and stuff. Yeah.
Right. So you could set this up so that you have these they're tokens that are managed by OpenShift per namespace. You've got them. You can have storage classes associated with them, and you're never going into Vault and saying, delete, expire, whatever it is. Like it's all like nicely managed. It's just, I just think it's a better way to manage at scale. Is that, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I would think of, when I think of managing Vault, I think of like door keys. I'm like, oh, can you imagine recalling door keys and all this? Like, oh, it'd be a nightmare.
Oh,
so
yeah, like changing locks on doors. When you put it like that, that's kind of brilliant, right? Like,
but that is
all
what
of a
it
sudden,
is.
my house has 1,000 doors, and I have to go change the locks by myself, right? Like,
right. And then when
really
you think of like,
analogy,
well, I
right?
want to delegate the kids' rooms to them. I want them to be able to manage their own keys or whatever. Or maybe you don't. Maybe you have some kids you don't. I don't know. But so if you think of it that way, you're saying, oh, I could see why they would want to have you authenticate over here and have a namespace over there. Like that's all. So, but more importantly, you really want to do it with service accounts, and you want the Kubernetes authentication method so that you're not in the business of manually doing any of this stuff. You're managing it within. So. Does Chris like that answer?
Well, so yeah, I mean, I'm assuming he does. He hasn't said anything, and we've got another good thumbs up from another audience member. But like, so you mentioned you can do your whole cluster like this, right? Like, you can have every storage class everywhere encrypted at rest, no problem, right? Like, but this layer of flexibility does give you, right? Like, I would do this in dev maybe and stage, and then that prod environment would be that fully locked down, everything's encryption at rest kind of deal. That way I can say, hey, listen, I know these keys and vaults and stuff, everything else is good to go in dev. I know it's good to go in stage. Let's make it happen in prod. And
you can
that
do
way
both.
You could do both. Yeah.
For the really power. Yeah, you can do both.
Tell me more.
Well, so as long as you decide when you create your storage cluster to actually encrypt, it's like a little button. Click. And then you can do both.
Nice.
And then later on you could do per namespace and stuff like that. So the PV encryption, I guess in that scenario, you think of it as you're just trying to keep others from looking at your stuff. I think I haven't met a client that wanted to do both yet, but I'm sure they exist. Or maybe you have to maybe there's a regulation you have to meet or something like that, or an audit requirement. But personally, I like to stay with the not cluster wide and just do the PV. I think that's really nice.
Right.
Yeah.
Option is great. If you're mandated, you can mandate it as well. Yeah, good call. I'm thinking, what else could I ask here?
And I'm going to change the document to. I would like to I'm going to run with what I think is a common setup, what I learned from this client as a common setup for Vault. So I am going to do how you verify the CA. I am going to add in namespaces. But again, I'm really not sure that that's actually the way most people are running it. Maybe there's a better way, or maybe someone can point me to a Vault Enterprise best practices doc that isn't like 18 pages long. So I'm interested in like, what are the common things you need to see in a typical Vault setup for sure.
18 pages is a lot.
I don't. It's
you just threw out a number,
stuff.
Didn't
Hey,
you?
Come on. I did. I was like, I should have said 180. No, I'm sure there's a tutorial that takes you through it, but then there's also that like that practitioner's knowledge, right? Like kind of what we bring here. It's like, oh, okay, you read this, but then how we really do it is da 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 da. So I'm kind of looking for that kind of Vault practitioner's knowledge.
So there is a run Vault on OpenShift doc from the Vault project itself.
So that's internal,
right? Like they're using a how to install, they're using a Helm chart, you know, all that fun stuff, but it's like running it on OpenShift.
Yeah, that's actually a little easier.
Yeah. So, you know, we have, you know, they are in tech or dev preview, I think. I forget which. It's from the future. Okay. So in the future, you could have a single node OpenShift cluster running your Vault, and it could just be off to the side here and, you know, running other services, hopefully too, that your security team might want. You can give them the option to have that, you know, OpenShift experience as well. That way, you know, everybody's playing on the same playing field, right? Like OpenShift is the underlying infrastructure. It's not like we have a VM over here of a certain version running us on a certain OS that needs patches and everything else, right? Like you can just change the underlying image and run it like that.
You could run Vault in your dev cluster just to make sure that this all flows properly. And then when you go and let's say your production Vault is external, then you're just dealing with that off piece, right? Like it's sort of, it's just to simplify things in dev and stage and how you want to lay it out. But yeah, so I'm interested in common Vault practices. You know, what else? I had another question.
To be honest, I don't know if I've seen the same Vault practice in practice, like from business to business to business, right? Or organization to organization. There's always some wrinkle of difference, right?
Okay.
I mean, the most common scenarios are the ones like this that you describe here, where there's, you know, some trusted CA in the organization that the Vault server uses and so forth, so on. But that's for big orgs, right? Like most people that need, you know, the open source version of Vault at least are probably not thinking, you know, massive, right? Or at, you know, at a scale beyond a certain number of clusters. So, you know, on the open source side, I think there's a lot of different ways to run Vault. On the enterprise side, maybe less, but you know, I'm curious. You know, I might dig into it myself now. Like, what does Vault Enterprise give you? Is there any difference? Does it simplify anything? Are there different endpoints or something? I don't know. I'm used to the open source version of Vault. Yeah. So I would look into that docs, but I'm sure they have like, wouldn't they have like some reference, like architectures or something?
They do. I mean, okay, I looked a little,
so
but
secrets management, data encryption, and identity.
Right.
Okay.
And the multi-tenant thing, like, okay, obviously you're gonna have to like it's just an understanding more about how they manage that. So so yeah, no, I'm definitely interested in what I just feel like sometimes a practitioner, they know, they're like, oh yeah, we tried that, we do it differently because A, B, and C, X, Y, Z, that kind of thing. So
XYZ,
yeah. So if once this document is fully out, it would be nice to see some comments from people saying, can you please do the following use case because we run this in our organization and maybe we try it, right? We try something else out there. So anyway, cool.
Well, this is awesome.
So can I break something else? I don't think like I'm not
more than happy to break whatever you want. I'll give you extra time to break stuff. I mean,
I was just going to say, so everything that does break here tends to be about, it's just configuration. It's really, it's a typo somewhere. It's it's all about this config map. Once the auth is set up, it's just it's super precise. You just have to like flow through it. And it's easier to do that if you have access to the Vault logs for sure. But that's it. And knowing that the vault side has been done already, right? I expect a lot of time back and forth, just making sure that the vault policies are set up and that you on your side understand what your namespace is and da 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 da. So yeah, that's it. And in the document, I was going to say the troubleshooting piece at the end actually has you drop in to an image and try and curl the external KMS. Yeah. Because that's a real test, right? Yeah, like just get in there and go see, and you want to run it as one of the service accounts that's supposed to be able to authenticate.
Right.
So that's like, this line, right? Like this is
you've got just to inherit sure or become that thing that is allowed to.
Right. That's the full test.
Access the vault. Yeah.
So you could run this, and when you curl it, if it doesn't work, send it to the vault team and work it out. So there it is. Ta-da! Look, here, when you're in your pod, this is where your service account token is. Every time. Just so you know. Do you know how how that maps out? So it's there. What else? Any more questions from anybody? Anyone want to chime in?
No questions.
All right, that's good. Okay.
Yeah,
there it is. Leading edge, people.
I do like the locks on doors analogy. Like, use that one in the future, because that's a good one.
Right.
This is why you want to use Vault, because you don't want to have to go change 1,000 locks at once. If somebody leaves the company.
Imagine walking around. Remember how I just remember seeing people in buildings with like a key ring yay big and 1,000 keys off of it, and I'm like, oh wow, how do you manage that? So you can think of Vault the same way, and as well as doors like pass key cards and everything else. So once you have that image in that model in your head, you can see why they have namespaces, why they have you authenticate in one place, but don't give you full access to your namespace to do it, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, that's it. That's what I've got, Chris.
Cool. No, that's great. Thank you, Michelle. This has been a wonderful demo, and tons of people use Vault, and tons of people should be using encryption at rest. So great show today. Really, really appreciate those. And it's awesome that we've got this out there for folks to consume on their own. So if you have any feedback, how would you like people to give feedback to your scenario here?
Do we
open an issue or email you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Open an issue?
Open an issue. Yeah. And I'll certainly comment on the video. Yeah, I'm interested in what would you like to see? What's the missing scenario here? What's the missing use case that we should be doing to make it easier for people to understand? It's involved. It's just got a lot of detail and it's involved. So I would like to do the most common one and to help people out first. That's all. Yeah, that's it. It's great. Fantastic. Yay.
Cool. Awesome.
And you've had power.
I have power. I had internet the whole time. It's a miracle almost. Modern technology. So thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Later today on the show, calendar, don't freeze on me now. We have In the Clouds. We are going to be talking about DevSecOps and shifting left, what that means. Part 2, by the way, because we did part 1 on the Level Up Hour last week. So we're going to do part 2 on In the Clouds this week. We'll have Kirsten, newcomer, security extraordinaire, and Jamie Scott on board to talk a little bit about shifting left and DevSecOps. DevNation's on tap today, and DevSecOps is the way. We'll be talking about data controls. So similar vein as what we started with today. That's pretty cool. And then, of course, everyone's favorite GitOps Guide to the Galaxy. We're actually going to be interviewing Dan Garfield from CodeFresh. And we've got some really cool stuff that we're cooking up with GitOps, Open GitOps. There's a GitOps Day coming. There's all kinds of fun stuff. So yeah, full lineup today for you folks. So let me know if you need access. Well, if you want to see it for yourself, you can go get it by looking at the calendar. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share as you see fit this video, because I think it was helpful for folks, and that repo itself might make life a little bit easier for people, like to get the concept, wrap their mind around the concept, right? Like sometimes you need to see the config to actually get it. And Bacon Fork says, thank you. So thank you, Bacon Fork, for tuning in.
Welcome.
And we'll see you all soon, I'm sure. So stay safe up there, Michelle, out near your neck of the woods, and I'll try and stay safe here. And we'll keep on pushing. So Thanks, folks.
Thanks,
Appreciate
everyone.
you.